can be a leader, but a leader is a developed set of skills. It's a developed set. State of mind, state of mind, state of mind, state of mind, state of mind.
Hey, what up, what up, what up, what's up? Hey, good people, it is I, Armand Owens, and that guy, Tony Amato. We are back. Leadership State of Mind podcast. We are back. It has been difficult to get together. A lot of real world challenges have prevented us to come together. But hey, just for those that have, endured with us through the inconsistency, we are both going to be on the East Coast at the same time zone here in just a few months. So I promise the consistency in the episodes are going to come. Just hold out just a little while longer for us. But in the meantime, between time, Tone, how you been doing, bro?
Hey man, I'm doing good. I got yelled at the other day. I had someone reach out to me. They were like, I was gone for a couple months and I came back and I tried to download the episodes and you seem like you're missing a couple. Like what's going on? So yeah, so it's been busy. First of all, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
We yeah, I mean the holidays happened and then school happened. I was at that Keystone course for 2 weeks traveling around the world. That was wild. That was a lot. And then just regular work, man, just getting boats ready and doing the stuff. So it's been busy. And then on top of all that, both of us trying to plan not easy moves, right? Like,
Yeah.
Japan to Washington, Hawaii to Rhode Island. That's not an easy transition. So yeah, you know what? At the end of the day, we making some excuses, but we're also being honest, being transparent, telling you that this is hard. But we are committed to, making better people and getting people to think like leaders. So we are excited to be here. And yeah, man. What about you? Everything good?
Everything is good, man. It's just been there's a lot of being over here in this area of responsibility here in Japan. The way things shift and move from day to day, uh, it is insane. Things that we agreed upon on Friday, Monday here have already changed, have already shifted about 100% out from what we talked about on Friday. Like this is how fast things move. So it requires a lot. It requires a lot of engagement. And the thing is that trying to get these things coordinated, just life trying to get coordinated is always a challenge. But you endure. I would tell you, I wouldn't want it any other way. I prefer the fast pace for myself. I prefer, being involved in the uncertainty because it challenges that uncertainty
Sure.
and the chaotic movements of it all. It kind of challenges, it kind of stretches you, forces you to kind of tap into a part of yourself where you may have kind of remained dormant over a time because it hasn't been challenged. So that's kind of where this has been. um, I would tell you is driven me to increase my level of communication, especially with family, because trying to do all the things with family and travel and kids with sports and making sure we all of our calendars are properly
Synced up.
joined and synced up together. It's just
Yeah.
it's been a lot of stuff. Even in the uncertainty of it all and the shiftiness of it all, it's been really good for growth. I tell you that much.
Well, that's great. That's a beautiful thing. I think it's one of the things that is great about this journey is that, as we both continue to try to communicate ways to get better and improve ourselves, we're learning in the process, right? And so with each new job is a new adventure and trying to balance, you got teenagers now doing their things and I got kids growing up. So it's just a constant state of growth, man, which requires, you know, new calibration, new adjustments, new prioritizations, all the things. So it's all part of the journey.
Absolutely, absolutely, man. How'd you feel? We didn't get a chance to talk about it, man. How'd you feel about that Super Bowl?
I mean, honestly, so before the Super Bowl, I told everyone I am rooting for Sam Darnold. I hate both of the teams equally. And I spent about 30 to 40 minutes talking to my oldest, talking to Mace about, I mean, just Sam Darnold's journey. I mean,
Oh yeah.
how can you not be, if you're rooting against that guy, hit me up. I don't know. Guy gets drafted first round super early, comes out early, against the Jets and plays really good. I think his first game, he has like a 21-point comeback against Detroit. I think my brother was at the game in Detroit. And you're
Mm,
like, "Oh my God, the Jets finally got one." And then, the Jets do what the Jets do, just destroy any any good talent, I feel like lately. And then he goes to all these different teams. And then last year, you think like, man, Vikings found a guy. They found their guy. They go 13-4, and then they cut him. And then to see him win the Super Bowl, man, like I just, it is the definition of so many things that we talk about on this show. You know, about being consistent, about staying the course, not quitting, not making excuses, battling back. So I mean, I could never buy a Seattle Seahawks jersey, but I was
yeah.
rooting for Sam Darnold in the Super Bowl. So I mean, like it was cool to see. So I was
Yeah.
happy about it. And then immediately after the Super Bowl, I just have to be transparent with you and let you know that Joy had a countdown for pitchers and catchers because she's like, now that that's done, baseball season is the next, the next thing. She's locked in already. Yeah, man. So I mean, other than that story, to me, that's the definition of, I mean, just creating a culture and a climate. But outside of that, man, the Sam Darnold story is amazing. Absolutely amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. But we're not going to waste any time. I'm gonna go ahead and jump off into this episode with our first session. As always, it was all good just a week ago, or a month ago, or 2 months ago. What you
Yeah,
got,
man.
brother?
Yeah, so the story I want to tell, man, it was great. So this guy told this story at this at my course that I was at, and it was the story about the, he called it the E9 run. And he said he went out, it was, I think it was an army guy, and he was talking about they get the whole, couple hundred people together and they do this big formation run. They got all their bosses and big wigs there. And man, it starts off and the E9s is crushing it. Right, they got the cadence. Everyone's on the right foot. Everyone's doing their thing, and then the E8s they keep it moving. It's not quite as good, but it's still good. And then the E7s is, still going okay, but then it gets back to the E6 and it's just not even close to what it was. All right, so outside of the military, just imagine like supervisor, manager, you know, assistant manager, just like a delay or a drop from the top to the bottom. And, the story was, man, like the legacy and the things that made them great and the things that they were taught and that they knew. Are you making sure that you're passing that down to the next generation? Because how could it be that all these people up here know what it sounds like, know how it feels, know how the importance of it, but then the people that they serve don't have the same love and value of the group here, and
Yeah.
they're still here. You know what I mean? And so it
Yep.
was really just a story about, man, like don't be in a situation where you forget to teach the traditions and the things that really matter. And he said it was so apparent to him, like through like an actual event, right? It was like, it was in person. He was like, how is this possible that these guys are so good at what they do? And then as you drop down, it is clear that the lessons aren't being taught, the traditions, the things that make your team whole. And so my biggest takeaway from the whole thing is like, listen, if we are in these roles and it is our job to own culture and create a legacy or a team that is sitting on these pillars, these things that really matter, if you're not teaching them to the new people coming in, you're going to lose your identity and lose that culture. So I thought it was a really good story about the importance of that. And yeah, man, mess around and it was all good just a week ago. And now all of a sudden the things that made you you and the things that make your team are no longer the same because you haven't passed those traditions and those habits down to the next group.
Yeah. I think that's a great point. I think that's a great story. Especially when you think about the fact that a lot of the things that you've learned and you've gained, whether it's through your reading, through the course of study, or just conversations and messing up and learning from those things, a lot of that wisdom is used and it comes a bit inherent. It becomes a part of who you are, innate, right? It's just like this is what I do. This is how I perform day to day. We take for granted that those behind us are not coming through that same path. They're not getting that same level of exposure that we may have had. They're not getting that same intentional direction that we may have gotten, in the past. So we in turn have to understand and be intentional. It's like, listen, this stuff that I got, not getting that same, they're not getting it the same way. They may be getting it faster. They maybe getting it slower. They may be getting just the wave tops on things. So we have to be the ones to be intentional about the depth that we're giving to them. Even when we're talking about something as minute, and I don't say minute, minutely, but as cadence, right? Being able to lead a team out front to run, that's something that we do in the military. And you can equate that, you can equivocate that to anything else over in your neck of the woods. But taking those things, because those are important. They are important. And we have to remember that we can't take for granted that people are going to learn those same lessons. They're going to have that same wisdom. So I think that's a great story, man. For me, I would tell you there was a billboard in my brain that just, kept going off. Trust, 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 trust. And I talked earlier about just how fast, how swift things move in our organization. And when things happen like that, because you're used to it, because it almost becomes a comfortability to me. I should be the person at the helm making the decisions, running the teams, you know, doing the things, right? And that limits my ability to allow people to come up and be exposed to those same things.
Sure.
Just over, so just these past few months, I've been really intentional on allowing those leaders who have aspirations to relieve me, so to speak, to get into this position, to put them in those uncomfortable positions. Trust,
Hmm.
trust,
Hmm.
trust, trust,
Yeah.
and allowing them to come up with the solutions and knowing that it may not be. And here's the key is that knowing that I could easily come up with a 99% answer and we keep it moving. But for them, they may come up with a 78% answer and have to fill in the blanks along the way for the rest of that 20 to 22%, right? I don't think there's ever a perfect answer. I think that we always are striving for the most right answer. But because time is moving, we have the ability to shift and move and adjust along the way as needed. So giving people the opportunity to, hey, what's your 78% solution? And obviously not saying it like that, but like, hey, what do you think we should do? Okay, so let's do that. Let's go. Let's go. Cool. Let's keep it moving. Right. And then those lessons along the way, asking those probing questions. All right. So we got to X. How could we have made a better decision? What informed this decision at first? And based on the evidence that we have now, based on what we have now, how could we have possibly made a better decision or gone a better, a more sure direction? We went to 3-2-0. What could we have learned along the way that allowed us to get to 3-2-2 was the most right course on this. So trust, trust, trust. That's been the big thing that's been in my brain, um, especially because I'm on the way out. Right, just a few years
Yeah.
away from hanging this thing up, and I'm really being intentional about putting people in position in those hard positions where it's going to force them to really think about, all right, what do I do next? Because there's stakes involved. Putting people in a position where there's stakes involved, that growth that comes out of that, I think is unmatched. So, trust, 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 and putting your leaders in a position where they're making true leadership decisions with stakes.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, it's funny because we're almost in the same situation, right? We're both transferring soon, working very hard to make repeatable processes that outlast our tour, making sure that the lessons and things that we've put in place are carried through to the next guy, and empowering the people on the team to make sure that they feel comfortable to, make some of those decisions. So, I mean, It is. It's a trust building thing, but it's also just, something for everyone to learn from. I mean, God, how much easier is your life if you got 3 or 4 people that you trust to make those decisions? And if you're trying to be the guy or the girl making those decisions every time, and you don't have a bunch of people that you can trust behind you, your job is going to get that much harder. And so the more people you bring into the equation, sometimes you don't have time to get everyone's opinion, but the more you can bring in, the more opportunity you have for your team to grow, for them to get experience. And, every time I leave and I'm gone at school or taking some vacation time and I put someone else in charge, man, they have so much to say on the back end.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
so
Oh
it's
yeah.
great, man. I think that's obviously a great lesson, and something we need to continue to push. So
Yep. Definitely. I mean, I'm really, really curious on what you reading. I'll tell you, for me, I've been reading Courage on the Fire. Courage on the Fire kind of took it back. This is the story of
that's
Admiral
a
James
movie, right?
Stockton. Yeah, I think it is a movie. I think it is a
Yeah.
movie, but it started with a book first where Admiral Stockdale, who was a fighter pilot, crashed in Vietnam and was taken prisoner for 7 years. And one of the things that really drew me to that book was he tested Epictetus's writings. If you don't know who Epictetus is, he was kind of the originator of the Stoic minds.
Hmm.
You see
Yep.
a lot of books that have come out now. Uh, your boy, your
Hmm.
boy,
Yeah.
is the purveyor of the Stoicism movement, so to speak. And so it drew me to it, and then just really kind of seeing it play in real life and seeing how he was tortured, his mantras every single day. Like he got to a point where he cut his own self so that they couldn't use him for propaganda. Like he cut his own face, so when they put him on camera, they couldn't say, "Yeah, we're treating him great." It's like, no, 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 no. They're out here torturing us, bro. Like this, like Hanwha Hotel is not a hotel that has a 5-star rating by any stretch of the imagination. So
Sure.
people really, really went through it, and but he was showing stoicism in real life, and I thought it was fascinating. The things that he went through and how he handled that mentally from day to day. So it's a great read.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. I feel like I know that story before only because Will Wiley talked to me a lot about that during our time on board. So
Really?
yeah. Yeah, he
Was
was
he
in
a
the
was
stock.
he a stoicism guy?
He wasn't a stoicism guy. He was just very like he just talked. I never really heard about Stockdale till he kind of talked about him. So pretty cool. Yeah, man. So it's funny, because you're talking about stoicism, and I'm reading about the current stoic. So Ryan Holiday dropped a new book called Wisdom, and so I'm about to wrap that up. I got a couple chapters left. Not my favorite of his books. Normally, I'm very
I was
like get
wondering
up.
if you was gonna say it.
Yeah, of course, man. Like, listen, I give them all the love. It's not one of my favorite books. I think the message is still relevant, right? The benefit of continued growth, not staying stagnant, not falling into the traps of people, the importance of wisdom and striving to continue to grow and learn and then learn from people's mistakes. There's a lot of good messaging in that. But yeah, I don't know. To me, some of the stories just seem a little off, and it just didn't seem like him. It just didn't seem like what I'm used to hearing from him. So it you know, everyone's got their own take on it, but either way, I think that was the last of the series. So finish that up, move on to the next one. You'll be proud. I bought and purchased the dang, what's the book you told me to buy? The movie's coming out. Home Run, something. Uh dang. Man, I was all excited to tell you about it. You
Home
told me
run?
it's not Home Run. It's called something. But the movie's coming out. It's about the end of the world, and this dude, random guy, gets picked to try to save it. Oh man, come on! You can't make me feel this silly. I'm gonna have to look it up.
Are you?
I think Ryan Gosling is playing the guy.
Oh, you talking about Project Hail Mary?
Okay, I was close. What I say? I said something
I
else.
don't know.
Home run.
I don't
All
know.
right, hell,
Home run.
not the same. Home run. Two different sports. Yeah, Project Hail Mary. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna do something that's not in my normal realm. Try to check something out. Someone told me that was our friend of mine. Actually, you know Brooke Smith. She says she read 115 books last year, and she said that's the best book she's read in the last 3 or 4 years. So I was like,
I
okay,
I told you I couldn't stop.
yeah.
I could not
So
stop.
I'm about to start that next.
Be ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Just be ready. I could not put it down, guy. Like, man,
Okay,
yeah.
I'm excited about it. So yeah, man. So listen, as we get into these bars, I was informed earlier that I'm the only one that turns it into a competitive nature, right? That I need to make sure that my bars are better. And for some reason, every time Armand drops a quote, shit pisses me off, and I feel like it's better than mine. But this week, I'm gonna hear his quote, but I'm going first because I'm so confident that he's gonna be like, "Yeah, you're right. That is fire." Okay,
Yeah.
so from Ryan Holiday's book, you ready? All right. Learn as if you are going to live forever. Live as if you are going to die tomorrow. Stay curious. Stay hungry. Keep learning. God, I got goosebumps when I heard it. I got them again. I got the hairs is sticking up,
Yeah.
man. I just think when I hear that, I think of just everything that we talk about every day. Learn as if you're going to live forever. Live as if you're going to die tomorrow. Just, just man, like keep going. I think about your book. I think about, stagnant being the first stage of death and how we got to continue to learn, continue to grow. And man, I heard that quote and I was like, everyone should just be operating on that quote alone. And I feel like life would be pretty good. So that's my
I
bar
love
for
it.
the week.
I love it. I love it. I'm a fan of that quote.
I knew you would be.
Yeah, I'm still just like so that's one of the quotes you got to sit with just a little bit, right? Because getting in the right mindset of that, like, just yeah, I'm definitely a fan of that.
Running into work and I heard it and I had to stop. I replayed it. I heard it again. I stopped. I typed it. I wrote it down. I was like, man, there's just so much into that, right? And it's just so crazy how two sentences can kind of really just get you to kind of recenter on what matters. So, yeah,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. I just that's why I love quotes so much because it just takes you down. Like you got a couple of sentences that really take you down an entire journey of of whatever it frames it as. So I love quotes, man. Mine's is so um the woman is Anna Rail. She's a 18th century author, but she said that we don't see the world, as it is. We see the world as we are. Right. So what we see in the world is filtered through our emotions, our experiences, how we were raised, all these things. We don't see the world as it is. We only see the world as we are, right? So the world that we see is reflection of our inner reality, right? If I'm looking into the world and I see nothing but dismay, nothing, but hate, nothing, but the worst, I got to take a look at me first. I got to address me first because there's so many beautiful things that are happening in the world that we don't necessarily have to just focus on the bad. We don't necessarily have to focus on, the negative and let that become, what informs how we believe what the world is. Right. So it's something I have to just remember as you consume all of this information that a lot of it coming is just not positive, right? It's not positive, but how I experience the world and in that experience of the world, how I relate to my family, it's important too. Because guess what? If I'm always in this hateful place, I'm always in this dreadful place. I'm always in this rundown place because that's how I see the world, and as a reflection of what I'm going through, what I'm experiencing inwardly. What kind of reality am I showing for my kids? Like, what kind of environment am I setting for my home? This is that the reality that I want to live in on a consistent basis, right? So we have to check ourselves first, and that will inform, how we see the world. So that's mine.
I like it. I mean, please let us know who had the better quote this week. I think we both know who did, but I really like it. Nah, I'm just messing with you. Nah, man, I love it. I think it's important, right? The way when I heard that, I just listening, it was like everyone's got their own lenses, right? Everyone's looking through different colored lenses. And so you're right. It's important for you to, maybe sometimes borrow some other people's glasses, and look at it from a different perspective. But certainly understand that, it's important for you to just understand the environment and be able to make some decisions and make sure you're good. Because if you're
Yeah.
coming from a place of anger all the time, then everything's gonna look that way. Uh, and that's not healthy for anybody. So I love that. What would you say your name was again?
And a rail.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right,
I
man.
will put it in the show. I will put it in the show notes
I appreciate you.
when we
Yeah, I love
upload it.
Yeah, man. So as we get on to the last segment before we get on to the main topic, 99 problems, but leadership ain't one. What is your tip of the week?
I know it sounds really, really simple,
Okay.
but don't get overstimulated by outcomes. Don't get overstimulated by outcomes. We in the military, we play an infinite game, and winning doesn't really exist. It's a continuous process of getting better. And we have a habit in which is, I have my own personal belief about, I've talked about this, but my belief about battle ease and things of that nature, because we focus on these outcomes. We focus on these outcomes in inspections. Oh, we got an excellence. So what does that mean? Well, that was a snapshot that happened in the past. Where are you now? Because
Yeah.
we're playing a game that continues, right? So that excellent or that battle E that you got, it does not matter in real time. And the fact that that assessment also comes from against other people that may not, other teams that may not be the best version of themselves, right? So those outcomes, we get so wrapped up in the outcome. What is the final thing that we're trying to get to, when we have to focus on the process, because there are times where we can have crappy processes but lead us to good outcomes.
Sure.
But you take those processes and you repeat them, you have no idea what's going to happen the next time,
Yep. Yep.
and the next time, and the next time, and the next time, because you have to continue on, right? So look at the process. Look at the next step. Am I doing the right things along the way? I may not get as high of a final outcome as I want through the refinement of those processes. But I'm gonna tell you what, over time, you're going to end up with the right outcomes if you give it the right amount of time and the right amount of energy, because all the team is aligned and doing the things the right way. So don't worry about outcomes. Are you making the right step? Are you saying the right things? Are you focusing on mentoring the right way? Like, what are the process that you're using day to day to get you, to get you those outcomes? Because the outcomes are irrelevant. I've watched
Hmm.
it over and over again. I've watched crappy teams have good outcomes, and they have hypnotized themselves to believe that outcome validates their processes. And brother, I can tell you what, that is not how things work. Not how things work. Right? So it is validating and making sure that those processes day to day, just focus on the next step. Are we doing the right things along the way? Though that should be the focus area, not on the outcomes. Not on the outcomes. So that's my tip of the week. And it's hard because you have pressure from above on, and people are going to be small-minded in their assessments because they're just going to look at, let me just give me the wave tops, just give me the bottom line up front, right? That doesn't speak to the depth of what's going on though. So in a world of bluff, I tell you, take time to really focus on the next step, because that's what's going to get you. That's what is going to assure you continuous positive outcomes, not just one.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I mean, sometimes the outcomes are not what is even your priority, right? And so like you got to make sure that your priorities are correct and aligned. And maybe yeah, we could do a whole topic on that conversation, honestly. So I'm
Yep.
I'm I'm gonna just let it sit there. and let you marinate on that. And just, I think it's a great point, right? It really just gets you to think about, have you been focusing on the right things, and are you chasing the right stuff, or are you reading your own hype and then not trying to get better? So love that. Yeah. So my tip of the week: just because it's given to you does not mean you have to do it.
Yeah.
As leaders, we need to guard our time, know when to delegate, know when to allow someone else to take on a project, and know when it's your time to sit down and do the thing you do, because that's the position that you're in. And I think that this is a great lesson, because as new leaders come into place, new managers, your boss might come down and give you a task. And if you try to take on every single task and every thought that they have, you're going to turn into a firefighter instead of a proactive leader. You're going to be chasing fires and running from one scene to the next, trying to fix everything. And so your ability and need to know how to delegate, and need to pass on some of those tasks to other people, doesn't make you a weak leader, right? Because just because it's given to you doesn't mean it's yours. And I think the more you think about tasks like that and things that are required that have to get done, allow you to kind of prioritize and see where you can help other people on your team grow and develop, and understand when your boss needs you to take the lead and do the thing, or when there's time for other people to grow. And I just think it's an important message for people to take out
Yeah.
of this week.
Yep. Definitely. And that's nuance too. You gotta know your boss. You gotta know the people
Sure.
that you're leading. Absolutely. Absolutely. You don't want somebody ill equipped at the wrong time to start, spouting off at the mouth.
Yeah. Yes, that's true.
But you also want to put people in a position where they can grow too. So it's like, yeah, yeah, you balance that. Yeah. Let me tell you, man, it is one thing to be given authority. It's another thing to completely different thing to be given belief. I think about it, from a military standpoint, it's the difference between my chief, that's my chief, and that's the chief. That's my leader. Oh yeah, that's the dude that's in charge. All right. Because you can assign rank, titles can be given, authority can be delegated, but faith is that's a choice that people have in you. And I would tell you that the energy that comes behind that faith into that leader, there's nothing that that team can accomplish when that faith is in that leader, right? So here's a uncomfortable question for the leaders. Why should your people, why should your boss, why should your peers put their faith in you, right? Once you remove the position, once you remove all the accolades and whether you've been there the longest or the shortest, you throw all that stuff out the window. But just because of who you are and how you show up, why should they put their faith in you? Why should they trust you? Right. So today we're talking about leadership in terms of faith. I know this sounds more like a religious topic than it does a leadership topic, but they're intermingled. They're one and the same, right? That faith that comes with that individual putting that trust in that leader. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about credibility. We're talking about trust, and we're talking about whether or not leadership is earned or assumed. So the first question I got for you in this round, talking about, whether or not your team should trust you. Would you follow you? Knowing all that you know about who you are, would you be willing to follow you? What you got?
Was that to me, or that was just in
Yep.
general?
Yeah. That was you. That was you. Would you tell me?
I feel like you
Would
throwing me a
you?
softball. I feel like it's like a loaded question. If I answer like, of course, you're gonna be like, man, this guy a little cocky, a little arrogant. So, you know, I I would follow me. And I say that not from a place of from cockiness, but I think that I've been to a lot of different places and had a lot of people that I've had the pleasure to serve. And when people are sad to see you go, when people are willing to come work with you again, when people from your last job still reach out to you, I think that I've built a track record in which I would come work for me. But I think that there's just so much that goes into that, man. Like, you know, having someone put their faith in you, it comes from you wanting to have the privilege to serve others. Comes
Yep.
from like it comes from a mindset. You know, Are you excited to lead? Do you have the privilege to serve 150 people, or do you have 150 people that work for you? I just think that I love the opportunity to be the leader that I don't feel like I always had. And so I want to earn that every day. I mean, back to your original statement, I do think that I think we're given some grace based on our position and based on where we end up to start, right? Like, I think I mean, specifically in certain communities, man, like there's no way I can go right now where I haven't someone that's on that staff hasn't worked with me or worked with someone who worked with me. And so they know who they're getting when I show up. But not everyone is in that small of a community. And so I would just say there's some just blind trust to start
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And but like it can be very short lived. Like that original trust is not faith, right? Like we can hope that this person is good, but that's not faith in you as a person. And so to answer your first question, I think I would. I think I would trust me. I think that and I think the biggest reason for that is I believe that I'm very transparent and set pretty clear expectations about my shortcomings, my areas of improvement and kind of paint a good picture of like who I am to work with. And I always appreciate that. And that's not something that I would always get. I don't know if that answers the question for you. I think it's a hard question to answer.
Yeah. I think there's layers to it. There's certain days where I will. You know what I mean? Like just,
Yeah.
I've allowed just like a human, allowed the circumstances of that day to shape how I carry myself for the better part of that day. And I'm not the best version of myself, in that way. So I think there's more days than not that I would definitely, follow myself. But I would tell you the hardest person to lead is ourselves, which is why this question I think is so powerful because it causes you to think about like the first thing that comes to mind are your liabilities, right? It's like, would I be willing to be led by myself? Well, I know where I'm most caustic, maybe toxic, maybe not the best, right? So, that
Right
question is meant to
around
kind of pull
right around meal times for sure.
facts, facts, facts. But it's that question is meant to pull that out of
Yeah.
us. And leadership comes with a lot of introspection, which is why we have these kind of conversations on the podcast. Because if there's no introspection, who's gonna check you?
100%.
Because at the end of the day, like as once you're appointed, we're talking about the appointment of leader, not the anointing of somebody receiving you as their leader, because those are two separate things. But the appointment of that leadership title almost assuredly means you're on an island by yourself in a lot of different ways, right? So who's who's coming to check you? Who's coming to
Yeah.
keep you accountable? It's you,
It's
and
gotta be.
you're the only person that can do that, right? And that's a hard thing because being looking in the mirror and saying that you suck at something, it has very different feelings for different people, right? But for me, because I pride myself on being the best of the best of the thing that I'm into, that there's pain that comes with that. There's some anguish, there's some emotional pain that comes with the realization, like, man, I ain't as good as I thought I was. But we have to have those conversations with ourselves. We have to have that introspection with ourselves so that we are a person that would be willing to be led by ourselves because it's the hardest thing to do is lead ourselves first, right? If I can lead myself first, if I can be honest with myself, I can really dissect myself and pull those things out that I know are liabilities. Number one, I can be just like you talked about, I can be transparent about those things.
Yeah.
And that's one of the first disarming things that I try to do as a leader. It's like, hey, let me tell you how I'm a liability.
Mhm.
Here's where I'm gonna need y'all help.
Sure. Yep.
Here's where I'm probably going to make a split decision here that's gonna compromise things. I'm gonna need your help.
Yep.
Being honest and transparent, open about those liabilities, while a lot of leaders think that and it makes you look weak, no, no, no. That fortifies, that really fortifies the direction and the alignment of the team because now, right, it's like, hey, this person has admitted that they're human. Because
Yeah.
there's a lot of dehumanization. There's a lot of dehumanization that comes with leadership. You assume this infallible position. You assume that you can't be wrong in front of people. That you have to be perfect, and that just sets you up for a foundation that is rigid and is going to crack when things start to shake. So for me, it's most of the time, I guess.
Yeah. I'll tell you, as I'm telling that story, I mean, this show is about being vulnerable and being transparent. And I want to get into the vulnerability thing in a sec, but man, I yelled last week. I couldn't tell you the last time that I like yelled. And last Tuesday, someone got me there and it ruined my whole day. Man, bro, I was leaving early. I was leaving work early that day. It was my anniversary. Me and Joy had a whole day planned. By the way, find you, find you a wife. It's like, hey, what you want to do on the anniversary? And she goes, well, there's this really cool Dave and Buster's. I'm like, what? And we played video games for 90 minutes like we was kids. We had a ball. But before that, I'm leaving work early and man, I yelled. I got this guy got me there and I spent the whole day, I apologized to the group later, apologized to the individual I yelled at. So yeah, most days I thought, most days I would follow me, but none of us are perfect. But following up on your point, I think the fastest way for people to put your faith in you is to be vulnerable. I just think it's a skill that people don't understand. I'm pretty sure Covey, Speed of Trust, right? I
Yeah.
think vulnerability was one of the things on there, but that's the one that I talk to people about all the time. Like, transparent is another way to use it, but I really think it's about being vulnerable. It's explaining who you are, where you're from, what you're about, strengths, weaknesses, areas of improvement, and just be willing to have that conversation with people. And also be able to be vulnerable enough to admit when you're wrong or when you made a mistake or when you didn't handle things the best way. The leaders that act like they're impervious or they make a mistake and they clearly do something wrong but won't acknowledge it, won't apologize, and feel like that makes them look weak. I'm not of the opinion that that makes you look weak. I'm of the opinion of if you're willing to be vulnerable with the people that you serve, then they will see you as a human, right? That whole dehumanization conversation. And be more empathetic to, man, like this dude's job is hard. He's not going to make the right decision every day, but most of the time he does. And if he's wrong, he's willing to admit it and look for help. So when I think of someone putting their faith in you, I think of building trust, and part of that is vulnerability. I think there's a couple steps I wrote down. There's three things, and we've talked about two of them already, right? But being vulnerable and being transparent are like two of the big ones. So
Yeah. I think that vulnerability conversation has two parts. I think the first part, we obviously talked about being open and honest about those things, but also with the vulnerability thing, recognizing, hey, yeah, I struggle in these things, or I'm not good at these things. And here's what I'm doing about it.
sure, of course, yeah, love that.
Here's what I'm doing about it. Because I'll tell you, we joke about my first conversation with my chief mess. I talked about I get hangry, but the thing that I told them I'm going to do about it is make sure my locker stays full of snacks.
Sure,
I got a mitigation plan built in, to it's funny, but it's true. It's like I got some granola bars in my locker that's gonna hold me over. If I miss lunch or miss breakfast or whatever the case may be. But that, you take that tongue in cheek example and you apply it. Hey, I'm not as good at paperwork or admin. Hey,
yeah,
one of the goals I have set for myself is I'm going to go work with an admin expert or the person that has that expertise to help me get better. I'm not too high and mighty to go and work on myself, even though I'm in this leadership position where you look at me as somebody that should know. No, no, no.
sure,
I'm going to take the ownership of that vulnerability and do something about it. I may not be the best at it as I grow, right? But I'm going to try to mitigate. I'm not just going to sit in this mediocrity, or I'm not going to sit in that vulnerability that liability, so to speak, and just let it stay there. No, 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 no. We got to do something attempt to do something about that, attempt to try to mitigate that. So that vulnerability conversation, it goes two ways. Here's what I'm doing about it. Hey, I may suck at X, but here's the why that I'm doing, to cover down on those things.
I love that. Yeah, I think that's important. I mean, I think it goes back to the them getting to know you a little bit, right? Them understanding like, who you are as a person, and again, it's expectations, it's transparency. Like it's all kind of like a circle, right? Like it's great. I think it's important. I think it's important. I think when people have their faith in you and they know that you have their back, then they're gonna run through a wall for you, man. And they're gonna help get the job done. As long as you're taking care of them. But how do we get there? How do we build that relationship? What else do you do? Or unless
Yeah.
you
So
got
I
another
think
question.
no, no, so just building off those points, I think that belief and that trust is really built by observable patterns, right? Are you a consistent, predictable leader?
Sure.
When faced with X, I can trust that this person is going to do Y. And I don't have to deal with this chaotic emotional animal and brace myself when something happens. I don't know what he's gonna do this time. I don't know what she gonna do this time. Like, I don't know how this going. Oh, you saw that news that just came out? Oh, you saw that thing that just happened? Man, I don't know. Man, I don't know what they're gonna do now, man. Has anybody talked to the leader? Nah, not yet. Oh man, I don't know how he's gonna respond. Think about how much stress and anxiety now is part of the team, because now they got to consider how you are going to deal with this, and was what are the repercussions, that are going to come out of that. So I think that belief is built in those observable patterns. No matter how crazy the scenario or how weird, the circumstance, if your response is measured consistently through the variance of those circumstances, your team is like, oh, don't matter what you bring, don't matter what you like. I know how this person is going to respond, and I think that gives the team, such a level of safety to know that they can bring you anything, and you're not going to lose your mind. What do you think?
I mean, consistency is certainly up there, right? Consistency is the thing that allows people to know, where they stand with you. But I think the only way to be consistent, man, and the only way to have that approach is to know what your priorities are. I mean, you had to know I was going to bring it back to this. If you are going into a job and into a role and you don't know what your priorities are and what it is that you care about and what it is that you want to make sure that you build the culture that you want to build there, then when things go wrong, people don't know how you're going to respond because you don't know what your priorities are. I would tell you, if you know that, hey, my three pillars are this, and this. And so then it's very easy to make certain decisions. It's very easy. Say if you say, hey, my first priority is to make sure that my people are taken care of and that they have all the things that they need to be successful, and I'm going to empower them to do the job. Well, when a people thing comes up, then they know where I'm gonna stand on it. They know that my principle is to take care of the people and to make sure that it's what's best for them and best for the team. So I think prioritization is important because that allows you to stay consistent. If you don't know what it is that you care about, then you can be oh man, what's the quote? Don't run towards the shiny object, or don't run towards the light in the fly trap. It's you're running a million different directions because you don't know what it is that you really care about. And I feel like when people know where you stand and what you care about, then it allows you to stay consistent, right? The second part of that, I mean, you said it right, but take care. Like you have to do things with actions, not words. You have to do things with actions, not words. You want to build faith. You come in, your onboarding process is very important to build that consistency, build that faith. And you meet someone and you tell them what the company's about, you tell them about the culture, you tell them what the priorities are, you tell them about the mission. If you stray away from that and you don't every day act like the mission, and act like the priorities that you put in place, then they're just words and they're not actions. And then when your words don't align with your actions, then how can people trust you? How can people put their faith in you? They just can't. It's a disconnect. It just doesn't make any sense. And so, this full circle moment that I'm talking about, what it is, if you're to wrap it up, it's knowing what your priorities are, having a vision, a mission set, in which you know how it is that you want to lead, coming in and setting clear expectations and being a little bit vulnerable and talking to them about who you are as a person and where your shortfalls are and all those things. And then doing the things that you said you were going to do. I think when you do that, there's a level of faith that comes with that because it's the same message. It's the same thing. He said he cared about this and now he's doing what he said he did. And so, I mean, I guess I trust him, right? Like, I think you can't just say there's one thing you have to do to build faith. I think it's got to be a consistent push on knowing what you care about and then doing the things that you say you're going to do. And more often than not, leaders struggle with that part, right? When your words don't match your actions, you are never going to have trust and you're never going to have faith in you because people just don't believe you.
And the reason why leaders fail in this, a lot of leaders fail in this, is because every declaration comes with a test. When I set my priorities, when I say this is what I stand for, this is what I believe, 100 times out of 100, something there is something that is going to come into conflict that is going to require you
To
to
make a
stand
decision.
up and sacrifice and be ready to stand on business.
Yep.
Every declaration comes with a test. That's just how it goes. You say something, just know something that is going to really shake the foundation of what you believe in is going to come to test that reality. Are you saying what you truly believe? Are you
Can
going
I
to be a person of your word and hold fast?
can I give you a story? I got it.
Oh yeah,
It
I love
it's
stories.
the one that comes to mind. I have one that I was thinking about for me, but I'd rather tell this story from one of my favorite leaders. So he had a very simple concept to lead. He was gonna. Yeah, I kind of made fun of him because the acronym was PTA, but it was people, teamwork, attitude, and his thing was people. And he said that he was gonna respect people's time. Man, when you're on an operational submarine, you're doing 70, 80-hour weeks effortlessly. Not effortlessly as far as like the effort you put in, but just the days add up. Duty day, a duty day is 24 hours. You're on the clock. And so there's some long weeks. And I think it was one of the first night work meetings. So if you were to imagine like your first big meeting at your new company where you have some outside people that are involved in the process. And I think it was a Tuesday. And this outside entity informs my boss that they have a plan to do this evolution on Saturday. And so he's just looking for the support of the boat. And I just remember my boss just like introducing himself. He's like, "Hey, I know that I'm new here. This is who I am. And I just want to like lay it out so we're all on the same page. If your organization is planning for us to come in on a Saturday while it's only Tuesday, I want to let you know that at no time will we ever show up. If you can't plan for it to happen between Tuesday and Friday, then we can do it Monday. But guess what we're not going to do? We're not going to plan to have my people who work all these hours come in and give you a couple more. That's a bad plan, and that is not how we operate on this boat." Now, listen, as simple as that conversation was, how fast you think the whole boat heard about that story? So that's the connection, right? It doesn't have to be, this big, like outlandish, crazy thing. It's a simple concept. I said when I met you that people were my main priority. Well, guess what? We're not going to do that to my people. We're not going to do it. And that's that connection where it's like, oh, that's how he does? Like, I'm ready to follow that. If he's going to support me like that, like, what else does he have? And so it doesn't have to, then that's why I said you have to know what your priorities are. You have to know because how can you know when to stand up and fight for something if you don't know what it is that that you're fighting for, if you're not aligned on what that is. So call it if have a fun acronym, have a bunch of pillars, have some priorities, but like it's got to be built on who you are and what you stand for, because that's how your people are going to know that they can trust you and put their faith in you.
I think that story encapsulates that perfectly. I think it encapsulates it perfectly,
Yeah.
right? Because like I said, every declaration comes with a test. That's part of the deal. Um, especially especially if you say people are your priority. Now, I believe when you say that, you need to make sure that people understand what that means,
A hundred
right?
percent. Yeah.
They need to understand what that means when you say that, because we have a saying in the Navy, take care of your people.
Yeah.
And people's definition of that vary from one side of the spectrum to the other.
Yeah. You should probably ask someone what that means. You should ask for a
Exactly.
definition, so to make sure that you're on the same page with the people that might be your managers. You might want to ask that question for sure.
Um,
Might want to
because
ask your HR team.
here's a fact. Every considerable area of growth that I've ever had in my life has come from some measure of pain, some measure of uncomfort, some measure of shaking me out of a zone that I wanted to stay in. And I needed it when I got it.
Yeah.
So that meant that the leader that I had at that time didn't coddle me. They weren't nice to me.
Sure.
They challenged me because they knew who I had the capacity to be.
Yeah.
And they led that version of myself. They didn't take it easy on me and see me where I was. They saw me where they thought that I could actually be, and they interacted with me at that level, which meant that the person that exists right now is not going to be happy with how that goes across. That's how leaders take good care of me.
Yeah.
And I that's how I do it as well.
Yeah.
You may not like me after a conversation about your evaluation, because I'm interacting with you with the version of you that I believe that you can come. Yeah, you may be mid-level manager, but you can absolutely be an executive. So I want to challenge you in that way, right? So we got to be careful on how we talk about that. But overall, when we say people are our priority, just know there's going to be moments and situations and circumstances that are going to come and challenge that. And you got to be willing. You got to be willing. The thing that I think about the most with that is Alexander the Great. There's a story about him where they're going from place to place with his army, and they are exhausted. They are tired. They are fed up. And somebody in the army kind of speaks out. I think you're bringing us here to kill us. And everybody starts this uproar. And he gets down off his horse and he takes off his shields and his armor, and he shows everybody, hey, where are my scars? Where are my scars? What do you see? Because all of my scars are right here. I've been fighting right along with you. I'm fighting right along. I'm going through this right along with you. I'm not going to put you through anything that I'm not willing to go through myself. You see any arrows? You see any darts? You see any cuts on my back? There ain't none on my back. It's all right here, because I'm the one that's willing, to confront it. I'm the one that's willing to take the arrows. I'm the one that's willing to take the ridicule along the way to protect you so that you can be the best version of yourself. And that's how leaders have to
Love it. I do love that. Yeah, I think faith is something that's important. It's just it's one of those things where when you have it, I think you can do anything. When
be.
when you have faith in your leader, and you trust that he's going to take care of you and your team, and you trust his vision, and you trust all the things that go with it, you can build a pretty incredible team. But it doesn't come easy. And even those positional authority where you might have some faith to start off, you can lose it just as quick. So you got to make sure
Absolutely.
you're ready to back it up with actions, not words.
Absolutely. And as we we bring this episode to a close, if you hung out with us, all the way through the end, we got a challenge. I got a challenge for you. I got a challenge for you. This week, ask someone that you assume, that someone you trust or you assume that trusts you, you know, ask them what is one thing that you do that builds trust, right? And what is one thing that you do that maybe corrodes or knocks that trust away, right? So you can know what you're doing well and double down on that, and also be aware of what blind spots you may have so you can work on.
Love that. Yeah, man. So what up? Any last thoughts?
Oh yeah. Don't try to defend yourself. Don't try to defend yourself when they say it, because that's the natural.
If you ask those hard questions, you got to be ready for those hard truths, and you just got to take them. Right? All feedback is good feedback, for sure. Well,
Absolutely.
listen,
Don't.
man. If you are following us on Leadership State of Mind, if you're following us on Instagram, on YouTube, man, I appreciate you. Please continue to comment. Tell us what it is you want to talk about. Give us some topics, some discussions. We are going to continue this. We're not going to stop. You're going to see more consistency as we get on the same coast and the same time zone for the first time. And I'm excited for what's coming in the future. So please like, share, follow, continue to check us out on Leadership State of Mind. If you are new, come check out our old podcast. Come check us out on Instagram, and you will see that we are about the same thing. We're helping people become the best versions of themselves. So this is out on this side from Hawaii. Man, great to see you, bro.
Same here, man. And out from Japan. Love y'all. Peace.
Later.